ओम श्री गणेशाय नमः। ओम श्री सरस्वत्यै नमः। ओम श्री गुरुभ्यो नमः। ओम सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्परां। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानाम् आलयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादं शङ्करं लोकशङ्करं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। ओम श्री सद्गुरुभ्यो नमः। Yesterday we had given an introduction and we concluded with the 4 types of ashramas: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Brahmacharya, Vanaprastha, Grihastha, Vanaprastha and Sannyasi. Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, Sannyasi. And in each of the ashramas, there are certain disciplines which were to be followed, which we discussed in a short way yesterday. And these disciplines becomes a very important foundation for all of us to grow individually. And the stages of life will help us in the social harmony and the growth of the social life. With this background, today we will enter into the text. I am sure all of you have got the text which we had sent with you. I request you to hold the text and read along with me. Vedo nityamadhiyatam taduditam karma swanushtiyatam teneshasya vidhiyatam apachitihi kamye matistyajyatam पापौघः परिधूयतां भवसुखे दोषोऽनुसन्धीयताम् आत्मेच्छाव्यवसीयतां निजगृहात् तूर्णं विनिर्गम्यताम्. Acharya starts with the most important requirement in life. What is that requirement? First of all, to succeed in any field of activity, what we require is the right knowledge of that field. Anything for that matter. Isn't it true? Even at the house, at our homes, to eat our food, we should know how to cook the food. Even to make a cup of coffee, we should know how to make a cup of coffee. The knowledge of that field is very important. Now, there are 2 things. One is the spiritual aspect of it, which I said we will be discussing. And also along with that, in our outer field of activity, in our outer world. When it comes to the outer world, the knowledge of the field where we are going to work. Very common example, an engineer having the right engineering knowledge, a doctor having the right medical knowledge. These are very important. I can't become a doctor without having a proper knowledge of the medicines. I can't become an engineer, it will be disastrous in both cases, for example. Why? Let us take even the first example what we took today, cooking. If I don't know how to cook, I might land in the nearest hospital in the shortest period of time. Therefore, knowledge in that particular field is very important. And very interesting. Now look at the words there. Vedaha nityam adhiyatam. What is adhiyatam? Study. What should I study? Vedaha, the Vedas, nityam, daily and for all time. We have to keep studying. Now look at the beautiful way it has been put. In the case of spiritual science, it is Veda. The knowledge of the Vedas must be such that I am able to face the challenges of life in the outer world and also the challenges of life in my inner world. When I say outer world in the field, every moment I need to update my knowledge, upgrade my knowledge. Otherwise, I will be outdated. Now see, adhiyatam, study, when it is said, it does not mean that once I study and I am fully equipped. That is only in Atma Vidya. In the Laukika Vidya, in the objective knowledge, study has to go on updated, otherwise I will no more be able to find myself in the right place. This updation is required with reference to the change of time. As I may take the example, once upon a time, a telephone had two pieces. One piece to the ear, one piece to the mouth. And later it became one hand with a handle, both in one piece. Now we have a mobile. Earlier mobile was only to make calls or maximum send a SMS. Today, a whole life can be lived with a piece of instrument like this in the external world. What not can you do in this mobile? Therefore, all in one is this mobile. Is it not? If I don't know how to operate it now, then with the old facility, I may not be able to reach my destination. Therefore, upgradation is very important. And when it is said Veda, in the spiritual world, Vedas represents the Shastra scriptures. Shruti, Smriti, Purana, Itihasa. And Veda here in particular represents Shruti. In Shruti, the complete gamut of the Adhyatma Shastra is given. And that is actually the real knowledge which will take us to the very purpose of human life. When the same Veda is referred to in the outer world, in the field of activity, every step I must again and again upgrade, update. Why is this required? For the simple reason, I am looking to succeed in that particular field. And what is success? Success is accomplishing. We discussed yesterday. Accomplishing a particular goal of life requires me having the complete knowledge. Therefore, I have to update. This is very much understandable in the outer world. Coming to the inner world. This is a very greater knowledge which is very deep in itself, and therefore at all period of time my mind must be focused in that particular learning. Tell me something. How much have we gained the control of our mind? Right from the childhood, while I am in the school, while I am sitting in the classroom, while the teacher is teaching, how much am I distracted? When I say I mean each one of you for yourself. Thus I find I am more habituated in being distracted wherever I am. To be more precise, I am never there where I am. Meaning, physically I am present, but mentally we are at so many places at a particular period of time. Therefore, when the mind is thus habituated to get distracted, it requires lot of practice to withdraw itself and focus in a field of activity. And the habit of studying will give me a total opportunity to keep my mind focused. Without a mind which is focused, one can never be able to achieve anything in any field of activity. Right? And therefore, with a focused mind, one has to study the Vedas daily. And when it comes to Vedas, it's not only Veda, there are so many other ancillary subjects to it. Veda, Vedanga, etc. Nityamadhiyatam, one has to study at all period of time. Swamiji, we are already tired of studying. From the childhood, for 20 plus years we have been going into the school and colleges and been studying and studying and studying and studying. When will it end? In the objective world, there is no end to it. Yes, in the subjective world, there is an end. When is the end? The end is when I realize my own true nature. I come to understand the statement Brahma Satyam Jagan Mithya Jivo Brahmaiva Napara. I have to come to not only understand but experience them. The time, the moment when I come to experience my true inner nature, everything ends. What actually ends? The realization here is the whole world is mithya. Satyam is only one, the Parabrahma Swarupa Paramatma, and there is nothing more to be gained, nothing more to be learned, nothing more to be accessed, because I am that Supreme everywhere. This is possible only in the spiritual science. In the objective world, it is a never-ending path. It is a wild goose chase. Yet, one has to learn. Coming to the next one. Tad uditam karma swanushthiyatam. Now, Acharya here refers to the karma which one has to perform, having gained the knowledge of the Vedas. What all the karma which he has to do? According to Shastra, karma is defined or classified into three. One is a karma which we are ought to do. There is no choice. And this is called as Nishkama karma. One. The second one is Sakama karma. While the first one is Nishkama, second one is Sakama karma. And there is a third classification, Nishiddha karma. Now see, Nishkama karma is a compulsory activity. What do I mean by compulsory activity? Where our likes and dislikes, raga, dvesha, has no place. Whether we like it or not, we accept it or not, want it or not, I must do. And then Nishkama karma here can also be slightly classified into Nitya karma and Naimitika karma. But both are ought to be done, which is beyond the realms of likes and dislikes. And they are like the Vedic commandments. You shan't do it. Why is it said so? See the beauty in it. These karmas actually mold the personality. What do I mean by molding the personality? It prepares the mind to accept challenges as it is, accept life as it is, and prepares the mind to face the challenge. And this is more towards preparing the adhyatma of a personality. It is also called the samskara. Like for example, if you look at it in a simple way, getting up early morning before sunrise. You know, there is a statement all of us have learned. Early to bed and early to rise. Those days, these kind of statements were actually based on the Shastra, but given out in a simple format. But we have taken it very lightly. Early to bed and early to rise, meaning what? Early morning when the mind is fresh to perform activities like Sandhya Vandana or a small puja, and then sitting for whatever important work what we are supposed to do will definitely give a very wonderful feeling, and it prepares the mind because the mind is quiet, mind is collected, mind is composed with a proper rest of course at night, and such a mind which is collected and composed is ready to face the challenge of the day. And when it is said Tadbuditam karma, Tadbuditam Nishkama karma as prescribed in the Shastra. When I say as prescribed in the Shastra, it means I must have no likes or dislikes, raga, dvesha, for the simple reason. Raga and dvesha are the main distractions of life. Mind, out of habit, always wants to go towards raga, towards those aspects of life which I like. Sukha prapti, dukkha nivritti. This is the way we want. And the mind always wants to avoid dislike because the mind tends to get disturbed. And this mind which is disturbed will not be able to achieve anything. It loses its efficiency because of the distraction. When I don't entertain the raga and dvesha, the likes and dislikes in life, but agate swagatam, whatever comes, I accept it. This is also called prasada buddhi. When I thus accept life as it comes and face it with a collected, composed mind, you will find the same activity will be a wonderful activity and one finds a lot of joy in it. Whereas a mind which is tongued by raga dvesha, the mind is totally disturbed. Why? Because it is either looking for all that which it likes, or it is trying to work from running away from all that it doesn't like. This we will find in very simple fashion even in our day-to-day life. Starting from a coffee probably, starting from a simple newspaper. When I read a newspaper, I want news which I like to read. I don't want news which I don't like to read. And in fact, it's a very interesting thing. Each one in the family, when they open the newspaper, you will find each one opens a different page many times. While somebody wants to see the main happenings in the country, the other want to see the Sudoku. And there will be some child who wants to see that small bit, that cartoon pictures. And there are some youngsters who want to see what happened in the sports field. Each one have our own likes and dislikes, and therefore you will find the mind runs only towards all that we like, and the mind wants to get away from all that I don't like. In the process of confronting between the likes and dislikes, I find myself distracted in varied fields, and because of these distractions, my efficiency in facing the challenges reduces. When the efficiency reduces, my proficiency also reduces. When the efficiency and the proficiency both are reduced, how on earth will I be able to succeed in my field? Therefore, the ancient scriptures have given us the truth which is applicable for eternity. Look at the beautiful thing. Tadvuditam karma sushtu anushtiyatam here refers to those karma as prescribed in the Shastra. When I am completely committed to it, my efficiency improves, my proficiency improves, there is focus in my mind, and therefore success is not something to be achieved, it becomes my birthright. Think. It becomes so easy. In fact, I don't have to work much towards it. When I continue my Nitya Anushtanam, we will find success follows. Therefore, Acharya says, Nitya karma one has to do. Nishkama karma, there must never be any kind of likes or dislikes. The second one is sakama karma. While the first one is a compulsory activity, the second one, sakama karma, is a optional activity. It is not compulsory. And the whole lot of activity are based on artha and kama. Now see, when we go to the work, where do we go? This is again a series of thought which everybody talks about. Why do you go to work? I want salary. Why do I want salary? I need to be comfortable. Why do I need to be comfortable? I want to enjoy life. Why do I want to enjoy life? I want to be happy. It comes and stays there. This is a common thing which everybody talk about. But now look at this. Whenever there are certain activities with likes and dislikes, it definitely rejuvenates a person and gives him that energy, that so-called, what you may otherwise usually call it as a break. Is it not? I want a break. Some people take only breaks. But here, for the change of activity, some may take a little break, maybe watch a little TV or take the mobile and check some messages. But now the things have become the other way. 22 hours people are with the mobile almost. Even at midnight, by chance they wake up, they want to check if there are messages available. Now here you will find sakama karma is a karma which is permitted with a line to be drawn. We must know how much, how far, and no further. This no further depends upon my ability, my capacity, my self-control. And this, when I have the perfect control, there is actually a permission for me to go and enjoy some little parts of the life. But if I have the capacity to come back, the same little parts of life becomes another rejuvenating factor, or that itself becomes a factor which drains out all our energy. Because of what? Raga, Dvesha. Now, in our life, if you honestly see, Artha, wealth, Kama, desire. This is all what we want. We are into a continuous process of gaining, acquiring, possessing, collecting, achieving. We want power, we want position, we want possession. And the best part is, it will never end. If today I have got what I have thought, tomorrow it will say, now you have got that, but that is not the end. Then there is next another goal, there is next another goal. And you will find the previous one, what you had fixed for yourself, is forgotten because the same mind has given another goal. And what do? Morning to night and night to morning, I am working towards, toiling towards, sweating towards achieving or accomplishing that goal born out of raga and dvesha. In the process, I am only thinking on the material well-being of myself rather than the inner well-being. Think. When there is no inner well-being, the material well-being cannot give me that kind of happiness what I am looking forward to. Therefore, sakama karma or kamya karma can be an option for a change, but one has to definitely work towards the nishkama karma. In the nishkama karma, the most important factor is swadharma nishtha. Now, what is this swadharma? Swadharma is very well used by anybody and everybody for anything and everything, but it is so much diluted today, one forgets what is his or her swadharma. Swadharma again is based on one, varna, and two, ashrama. When I say varna, a brahmachari's swadharma is different from the grihastha's swadharma. A grihastha swadharma is different from a vanaprastha swadharma or a sannyasi swadharma. And the same person, when he was a brahmachari swadharma, is different. When he himself moves into grihastha, his swadharma is different. And what is the swadharma again? Swadharma again is referred with reference to the ashrama I said. What is the ashrama? Brahmachari, brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyasi. As a brahmachari, my swadharma is only to study. Studying what is required as a brahmachari, giving all my attention to it and completely offering myself only for gaining the knowledge. In the spiritual science, a brahmachari is given the knowledge of the Veda, Vedanga, etc. and prepares the brahmachari to face the life after the studentship. When he enters the grihastha or even vanaprastha after grihastha, what is his swadharma at those period of time is taught while he is a brahmachari. So when he is a brahmachari, his swadharma is gaining the knowledge completely. And also according to the varna, Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra. What is the swadharma of a Brahmana? What is the swadharma of a Kshatriya? What is the swadharma of a Vaishya? And what is the swadharma of a Shudra? He has to learn everything. Why is it? Because at a given period of time in our life, we will be doing the activity of a Brahmana. At another period of time, we will have to work as a Kshatriya. The same person becomes a Vaishya when he is working at a different level. Like, considering a Brahmana here, having graduated from the studentship to a grihastha, he also becomes a Kshatriya in the sense he has to protect his family. The Kshatriyatam is not only always taking a sword or a gun and then go to the front line. No. Kshatriyatam here also means protecting a family. And he becomes a Vaishya by transacting with the world outside. And he also has to perform the activity of a Shudra in terms of what? In terms of the physical activity which he has to do both for himself and for his family and the world. Thus we find every individual have to work in different stages and at different levels. Therefore, the knowledge of that particular stage and the knowledge of that particular level and the way he has to function at that particular stage and level, he must know. Think. All this knowledge is gained while he is a brahmachari, while he is in a studentship. Once he gains the complete knowledge, in fact, It is almost 12 to 14 years that he has to study everything. Earlier days, when he was taken to the Gurukula, even the simple carpentry work was given to him so that he should know how to do it. When there is some problem while he is in the Grihastha, he must know how to handle it. In today's world, if we may say, if one holder is not working, we require an electrician. Think. One table or chair is dancing, we require one carpenter. Think. Small work. But we are so dependent upon an external factor even for small things. And these small things can definitely disturb me from my path. In those days, in the Gurukula system, every single aspect of the ashrama, every single level, every single stage, what will happen, the boy, the Vatu, the Brahmachari was given that knowledge. How to face challenges. How does the Veda teach me to face the challenges while I am in a different ashrama, while I am in a different setup? One has to learn. Think. He becomes well equipped. He becomes well prepared, and therefore, after the Brahmacharya, when he gets into Grihastha, he knows how to live a life of a Grihastha. In the Swadharma Anusthana, Panchamahayajna is prescribed. What is this Panchamahayajna? 5 different types of worship. Now here, I would bring in one more thought. Tadbuditam karma sushtu anushtiyatam. Karma also refers to the Vaidika karma from the standpoint of the Shastra and the other karmas, the activities which we undertake in our life. Both are involved. And this Pancha Mahayajna is prescribed. Now see how beautiful it is. It covers very many aspects of life. The first one is called Devayajna. What is this Devayajna? Devayajna is worship of Bhagavan in the simple term. When I say worship of Bhagavan, what kind of worship? There are different types of worships. There are people who conduct Shodashopachara Puja Vidhi with all other niyamas. You will find 2 hours, 2.5 hours of puja. There are people who do. And there are some people, they may not have learnt all those pujas, they may not have been taught. And in these days it is all the more difficult. No? There are hardly people to teach. In that puja vidhanam, for example, there are some laghu puja vidhis. And this person is told, you can light one agarbatti, light one arati, give some naivedyam, something, and then mangalarati. This much you do, enough. But now how you should do that? Now see, Bhagavad Gita says, Patram pushpam phalam toyam yo me bhaktya prayachati. Bhaktya prayachati. Think about that. Bhagavan looks for our bhakti, not the varieties of things which we hold. If you are capable of, if you can afford to, please do it. Nothing wrong. But don't come to the conclusion that the more items I give, the more varieties I give, then Bhagavan will be happy. Bhagavan doesn't look for material volume. Bhagavan looks for our inner quietude and the love with which we worship Bhagavan. Deva Yajna here refers to this simple worship. What is simple worship? Bhagavan anyatha sharanam nasti tvameva sharanam mama. I have come at your feet, O Bhagavan. Protect me. Now there is a very interesting point here. Does it mean that I sit in front of Bhagavan all the time? I am doing bhakti of Bhagavan and I don't take care of my job. No, that is not prescribed. Now see, Swadharme nidhanam shreyaha paradharmo bhayavaha. Bhagavad Gita says, Swadharme nidhanam shreyaha. What is very important is performing my duty diligently. Yogaha karmasu kaushala. This Swadharma Anushtanam, when it is said, one at the ritual standpoint performing a puja, but at the worldly standpoint performing my duties diligently. Swadharma Anushtanam. This is puja, and one of the very important Swadharma of everybody is Pancha Maha Puja, and here we are talking of Deva Puja, where one must worship Bhagavan. Two reasons. One is, when I worship Bhagavan, I accept the supremacy of Bhagavan, and therefore I develop the quality of humility in me. Tasya vina trinamapi na chalati. Having the surrendered, anyatha sharanam nasti, when I surrender at the feet of Bhagavan, my mind reduces the amount of ego. The more humble I become, the more simple I become, the more quieter my mind is. Think. The more my mind is quiet, the more there is humility in me, the more in that quiet mind I can see the presence of that Bhagavan. He is not somewhere far above the clouds, 10th cloud or 11th cloud. No. Hridaya madhye kevalam brahma matram ahamaham sakshat atma rupena bhati. He is very much within us as the very Atma. Therefore, while performing the puja at the feet of Bhagavan, I recognize the presence of the Bhagavan in me through that quiet mind. Therefore, to experience this quietude, which otherwise is called as peace, P-E-A-C, otherwise called as happiness, otherwise called as bliss, otherwise called as joy, all are nothing but the quietude, the stillness of the mind. Such a mind which is quiet, which is composed, which is collected, is a mind which is sharper to be very successful out in the outer world. To gain that sharpness, to gain that efficiency, to gain that proficiency, one must have simplicity at the mind level. And worship of Bhagavan gives us that simplicity, that humility. Therefore, Deva Yajna. The second one is Pitri Yajna. What is Pitri Yajna? Worshipping our forefathers along with our parents. Worshipping forefathers meaning what? Performing all the karmas which are prescribed in the Shastras. Example, Shraddha karma one must perform. Very many people say it is only escapism. It is not truth. People say that person has already gone. Who knows where he is? Whether he is in hell or heaven or Trishanku. Who knows? I don't even know who is my forefather. Why should I do all that karma? These are all very irresponsible way of thinking. Now see, today I am what I am only because of my parents. The very birth which I have taken is because of my parent. And my parents are there because of their parents. And they because of their parents. Therefore, all the forefathers become, the complete lineage becomes very important because they become the cause of this effect today. And what I am today is only because of them, because of their bringing up. To them, the gratitude, kritagnyata bhava is very important. Therefore, Pitriyajna is one at the level of Shraddha karma etc. worshipping them, praying to them. And the second is at the immediate Pitra, our own parents, taking care of them while they are alive properly is a big worship. It is not that you make them to sit in a chair and throw flowers on them, put one garland, chandana, kumkuma, akshata, and then later, after that, go on scolding them. No. Taking care of them to such an extent that they feel proud of begetting a son or a daughter like what you are. This sense of satisfaction, this sense of completeness, this sense of joy to have brought you in this world outside and to have brought you up in the world outside, and today the feeling that joy is itself a puja. To make them feel that way is my responsibility, is my duty, and this is worship of our parents and the forefathers. Pitriyajna. The next one is called Brahmayajna. Brahmayajna is worshipping and giving our thanks, if we can use the modern language. Kritagnyata. To whom? To all the acharyas, the teachers, and even the people. Every single person whom you come across every day are a teacher to you. Yes or no? There is something which we learn from every single individual. Knowingly or unknowingly. But we learn. Now, when it is said Brahma Yajna, it is worshipping my teachers. How do I worship again? One, definitely worship with flowers. Worship with Pada Puja or Paduka Puja, which we do to our Puja Gurudev, and to the Guru Parampara we do Pada Puja, Paduka Puja. Very, very important. Don't underestimate puja. Today many people underestimate puja. That puja is prescribed for a distracted mind to collect itself and surrender at the feet of the teacher. Unless and until we surrender at the feet of the teacher, one can never gain the knowledge. I call upon today the youngsters. Think. Today, the relationship between the teacher and the taught has been diluted so much. They feel proud to say, oh, today me and my lecturer, we are like friends. How can we? How can we come down or bring down the lecturer, the teacher to that extent? It is arrogance. We may communicate with each other very well, but at the same time, that gratitude, that humility, that surrender is very important, and therefore worshipping the teacher also is important, because without the presence of the teacher, I become illiterate. I will no more be able to gain the knowledge of my own Swadharma, let alone the objective world. Therefore, a teacher is very, very important. Think. Brahma Yajna. The next one, the fourth one, is called Manushya Yajna. What is Manushya Yajna? Our worship to our fellow beings. Isn't it true that we cannot live a happy life without the contribution of our fellow beings? Let us say, I am a very rich person, wealthy person. I have got crores in my bank. I have got lakhs of hot cash also later. Example, huh? I don't have anything. Example. I can buy anything I want in this world outside. But for me to get it from the store, somebody must have kept it in the store. For somebody to have kept it in the store, somebody else must have manufactured. Somebody else who is manufacturing must have the support of his staff, his workers. Look at the amount of people who are involved for me to gain a simple thing from the store. If that thing is not there in the store, how much ever money I have, I will not be able to gain. And for that to happen, look at the gamut of people who are working. Without a farmer, rice is not, paddy is not available, will not be available. I don't have the technical knowledge of how to produce rice. I don't have the technical knowledge how to produce vegetables. A farmer, he grows, he plants, or rather prior to that, he plows the land. For us to clean one room is difficult. To clean our table becomes difficult. Whereas the farmer plows the land, sows the seed, waters the land, cleans the land. That is also very important. Removing the weeds is extremely important. Otherwise, the whole thing will go for a toss. Is it not? So much of activity is involved, and after that alone, I may get that particular simple things which I want. Should we not be grateful? Think. Not only feeling grateful, but in the form of expressing my gratitude to the fellow beings for whatever they have been doing for me is, and that too from the bottom of the heart, not at the level of the lip. From the heart of hearts, I thank them. What a wonderful example we have got today. Now, at this juncture, on that particular day, what was it called? That day was called curfew. We were all into our houses, and our beloved Prime Minister asked us at 5 o'clock, please come out at the doorsteps. He was clear. Our people misunderstood and misused the opportunity. He said, come at the doorstep and clap for all the people, the COVID warriors. Why should it be done? Think. It is the feeling of gratitude to those people who are working amidst the people who are affected. Those people who are working for our sake, risking their life, come out. And 2 days back, light a lamp outside. Why? There are some people who irresponsibly ridiculed that thought. But what a great vision. What is it? Look at that. Manushya Yajna. What is that Manushya Yajna? I express my gratitude to the fellow beings who are working, risking their life, and so many people who have been saving our life, who have been working in the field, not being at home, and many of them also have been affected by virus. They could have as well stayed home. But to protect all of us, they were working, thanking them, praying for them. Manava Yajna, Manushya Yajna, must do. Think. This inner feeling, this inner, it is such a beautiful experience of love, unconditional love to our fellow beings who are working for the sake of the nation, nay, for the sake of the whole humanity. What better example do we have today? Think. One must do. And it is such a joy that the whole nation stepped up and the whole nation came together and thanked every single worker, every single COVID warriors, as they are called. And remember, just imagine, 2 minutes, imagine if you were a worker there working for the nation. Look at the joy. Is it? One must do. Ought to be done. Manava Yajna. And the last one is Bhuta Yajna. What is Bhuta Yajna here? Caring for the other living creatures. Now immediately I am sure you will be thinking, Swamiji, what about mosquitoes? What about cockroaches? It is said, there is no right answer for a wrong question. Why? See, to the extent possible, we have the technical know-how, we have the opportunity, we have the gadgets with us to protect ourselves from all of them. Think. To protect ourselves from all of them, we have so many opportunities, so many things available. Do all that so that you don't have to kill them. Is it not? When I have not taken care of myself by not protecting myself properly, and I have given ways to that, now they have taken over. One master used to say, even while in case you are killing a mosquito, say Krishna, Krishna and kill them. At least you have prayed for them. Meaning what? Even by doing that, you have cared for them. In the right sense of the word, ahimsa, a word which is normally misunderstood, is not hurting anyone, any jiva rashi. Care for them. In fact, very interesting. Many people have got pets at home. Is it not? In fact, pets are loved more than the children or the brothers and sisters. That is Bhuta Yajna only, in a manner of saying. Love them to the extent. And I don't mean to say that you love cockroach or the mosquito. Care for them to such an extent that you don't become a hindrance for them. Protect yourself, and to whatever extent, to whichever jantu you can, care for them. And think good for them. Pray good for them. This is Bhuta Yajna. Thus we find all this can be done by every human being. Rather, one must do. While thus taking care of these yajnas, you will find my mind itself becomes a mind full of joy, full of santosha, full of love, without any hatred. Bhagavad Gita in the 12th chapter says, Adveshta sarvabhutanam maitraha karunayevacha nirmamo nirahankaraha samadukha sukakshami santushta satatam yogi. Like that 21 values are given. Every single value talks about this very yajna. And the last point for today, I am reducing my time because online to listen for a long time is difficult, practically difficult. Therefore, from tomorrow, it will be 1 hour, 4 to 5. Today, I will end this point with this point and will again meet tomorrow at 4 o'clock. 4 to 5 will be our session. 1 hour. The last point what I want to make today is this, or rather these 5 yajnas, Panchamahayajna, will definitely give what is called as Chitta Shuddhi, purification of the mind. And a pure mind, a mind which is filled with lots of love for every single being in this world and the creator of them. Such a mind, quiet mind, with full of love, with full of care, develops positive thinking. Please be attentive. Positive thinking in the mind will increase when I don't entertain negative thinking. Negative thinking always comes with the tag of raga and dvesha, whereas positive thinking always comes with the tag of prosperity, improvement, growth, development, and all this with what? With love and care, otherwise called worship. I think we will continue tomorrow. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.